be reporting to the town administrator, would be hired by the town administrator on the recommendation of our committee, and would be something on a par with the existing recreation department positions. It was not intended, and if there is an error there, we will take full responsibility for the error of intent. We came to you for guidance, and we will gladly retract from that position to get to where we want to be, which is to have this position in town serving the young people of this town.
So, in relation to the modified article, that's, again, what the concern is. Now, in relation to the overall question, should it be a town employee and should we move forward at this particular time? I found that meeting that we had that morning very enlightening, I mean, in relation to the work that had been done, but also, it also pointed out that there's an awful lot more work to be done, and I think you'll all admit that. I thought that Mr. Romano brought a tremendous amount of personal interest, resources, knowledge, to the table, which we should all consider. I think the idea of the study committee, and again, I was in favor of the study committee thing with a definitive time to report back, because I didn't want to discourage your organization from moving forward. But I think I'm still not ready to embrace a new town department, a town employee, because I know what we go through, budget time, and we're going to be starting it within 2 months. Recreation already took a hit last year, and we're talking about bringing on a new program, which I understand you're looking to raise funds for, and you're committing to raise enough money to pay the salary. But what I heard at the first meeting when you made the presentation was, it appears as though an inordinate amount of time of this individual to be filling the position is going to have to be devoted towards fundraising, and not necessarily serving the youth. And again, this is the upfront person who's going to be the face on the position.
That's why we have a grant writing committee that's
I
already
understand.
registered, and the fundraising
I
committees.
understand. I mean, I've been involved
I
in
can help
volunteer boards, but
if you misreceive
I
the
have been
message
involved, for years, on volunteer boards, committees, and commissions, not just elected, but volunteer ones also, in raising money and funds and heading up causes and assisting different causes over the years. And you've done a terrific job in a short period of time. I just want to be able to be assured that it's sustainable, and if it's sustainable through the volunteer efforts, that's great. But if it isn't, is it something that we can structure and undertake looking 5 years out? What is it going to grow into?
The program young people are not like the hula hoop, though, Mr. O'Leary. They're not going to go out of fashion. This is something that's going to endure, and there are going to be parents in 5 years' time who are going to have the same concerns as we do.
Absolutely. And you know what? There's a whole level of services that we provide right now that we're having a difficult time maintaining. There's a whole level of services out there that we should probably get into and would like to expand into, but we can't afford to. I don't disagree that we can't afford not to service the youth of our community. And I think we're doing the best we can right now, and we can do better. We can always do better. It's a question of how. Now, we don't have to reinvent the wheel or the hula hoop. I mean, there are other agencies out there. I thought that Mr. Romano's comments were very good. He said, they have a structure in place where they can be using the YMCA as a conduit for the funds, or as an employee of the YMCA, but he also said it probably should be a member of a town department because of the credibility issue. I heard him, okay? But I'm still not ready to jump into it yet. And this person is not going to be on board in 6 months and know what they're supposed to be doing in 6 months. I would rather have take advantage of this summit idea that this gentleman appears to be very adept at facilitating such meetings and moving this thing forward in a more organized approach. So we take a more measured approach in developing a program, and if it needs to be a town department established as such, I'm not truly convinced yet. I'm getting there, but I'm not there yet. I'm being honest with you. And if you're asking me to do it in 3 weeks, I'm not so sure I'm going to have enough information to get it there. I would like to participate. I would like to see this thing looked at a little bit more closely, have it more structured, and have, again, when I'm talking it over with the chairman, have them report April town meeting, and during the, if it's done sooner than that, during our budgetary process, we can start laying the groundwork and foundation for providing for it. But I don't think we're there yet. I think you're still putting the cart before the horse. You've done a lot of groundwork, but there's still a lot of unanswered questions, and I'm not ready to go. But I'm not ready to throw it out either. I think it's a great idea. I think you've done a terrific job, and I think, let's form the study committee, which eventually, as we did with the Hillview, we formed a study committee, the Hillview Study Committee, which evolved into the Hillview Commission. And it's worked very well, but we didn't dive right into it. It took 18 months to get that thing up and running and going before a commission was appointed and the town took it by eminent domain.
I will say, Mr.
So-
O'Leary, with the greatest possible respect, a golf club is not a youth services division. But
No,
I'd like
but
to
it's the
hear
same
I'd
way
like
that
to
we
hear
set
from
it
the
up.
other members of the selectmen too.
Mr. Chairman? I'm not sure.
I'm fine, finish.
Okay. So I think if we're going to do it, I think the study committee is a more measured approach to do it. And I think we should continue on with the work that you're doing, involve other people, and if the town can help facilitate that, to lend it more credibility, that's a good, positive move. And I don't see where delaying it 6 months is going to do any harm to the effort, and I think it would actually grow the effort and have more people embrace it.
Okay, any other members of the board wish to address Mr. Giles' question? Michael?
All I can say is I'm of two minds on this issue as well. I couldn't be happier to see somebody recognizing the problems that we have in this community that no one else seems to see because it seems so well off on the surface. Everybody knows what happens underneath. But I just have a little bit of trouble with the idea of making it a town employee. I understand that you said you would fully fund it completely, but my only question is, what's gonna happen 20 years down the road? If people are gonna continue to stay interested, or, I don't know, I just wonder what's gonna happen when we have somebody retire from this position, and you have to fund both the pension and the position at the same time. I don't know, I just don't think there's been enough time to see what the full reaction of the town would be. I love the idea, I think it's brilliant, and I'm totally on board with it. It's just that one issue just sticks out for me, that's the only thing. I just don't, I'd love to just say, let's go ahead and just do it, but it's just a money issue. I'm brand new to this, and I see the horrors we go through it, looking at the budget time and everything, and it's just, I don't know, right now it just doesn't seem feasible with the information, the amount of information we have at the moment. But, I don't know, like I said, I'm of two completely separate minds on this. And it was really hard, because knowing the names of some people that are, some friends of mine that have problems at the moment, and seeing something that could potentially help them is amazing to me, but it's just is it doable? It's the only question.
Phil?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I meant to mention up front, now, I really feel it's important for me to mention it, that my wife is very involved in this program. She's one of the founding members of this group, and I have spoken to town councils, and town council sees no problem in my being commenting on it or doing my job as a selectman. I've also filed this disclosure form on the issue, so I just want to say that up front. But and my views on this, I mean, anyone who knows me knows I'm a long-standing supporter of youth programs. And, it's something I feel, very strongly about. What I really believe is that I understand the board's concern about a town employee. I think it's overly stated. I think if this group has said they're gonna pay the cost, I'm not sure I see the negatives there. If the negative is that somewhere down the line, they may not come through, they may not raise the money, well, I don't know that I see the difference between that and any other position we have. Next year, we may not have the funds to have three reading teachers, so we have to cut a reading teacher. Next year, we may not have the funds to have all the policemen, so we may cut a policeman. We cut, that's what we do, all right? That's what we do here, we do what we have to do. If they don't deliver, they run the risk that this employee is gone, absolutely. But I don't know why I see that being such a big concern. It is what we do. Now, if you believe there's a problem here that needs to be fixed, okay, it is properly done by the town. This is the town's responsibility, in my view, absolutely. The study, what I would ask the group, I don't want to talk, I know all of you well enough to know that I'm not going to convince you, okay, if you change your opinion, okay? I wish I could, but what I would say is I think this youth service study committee is just postponing the inevitable, okay? It's unnecessary, okay? And I really see it as an insult to what they have already done, all the work they've already done, okay? It kind of belittles that. What I'd ask is that we withdraw the youth study committee and vote 4-1 against their proposal, but let their proposal go ahead, because all this does is muddy the waters and make things confusing. It also makes us appear like we didn't get our way, so we're raising another issue to kind of divide people's attention or to break it away from a proposal that the selectmen don't agree to. And I'm just telling you what I think it appears. I'm not trying to insult anybody here, please don't take it as an insult. But I'd ask that we withdraw the youth study committee and vote on the measures that the Narissa has proposed.
I haven't made,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was gonna make a comment, because I guess my position is maybe a little different than what you've heard, and that is that I think this is a need. I think it's very important. I haven't made up my mind completely as to whether it should be an outside agency, whether it's through the Y or independently hired and organized from Narissa, or it belongs as a town employee. But if it belongs as a town employee, there's work that needs to be done. And that's the purpose of this study committee article. It's not to restudy what you're doing, but it's to determine how best to structure it within the community. And I'll say one other thing. If it's going to be a town employee, I think the town has to be prepared to fund it. If you're going to put something together and move this thing forward, I think you need to be prepared to fund the project. Now, that doesn't mean you don't accept funds raised from any group to feed the program, similar to recreation. But I think there has to be a commitment behind the town, because it's not just a salary, it's the overhead associated with an employee, it's the health, the retirement benefits, it's office and support. And then this one person, right, may not be enough to do the entire job. It's going to evolve. One of the things that Lynn Romano had mentioned in having the summit and creating a strategic plan that looks out the next 5 years or so and say, okay, we're going to start here, where are we going to be in 5 years? What really does the entire job? That's what I'm looking for out of this committee, to get something going so that we can make the real decision as to if it's going to be an embedded town employee, how it's all going to be structured, and what's the funding associated with it. Right? Is it fully Narissa's responsibility, or is the town going to share some of this, and how are we going to make this go? I know for a fact that when the Hillview Commission guaranteed the loan for that LUC needed as matching funds for part of the park acquisition, right? They made a commitment to the Hillview to raise money and to pay that share, and and they did. They kept their